With the festive season just around the corner, the Nelson Mandela Bay community is growing increasingly concerned about the impact of crime on their beloved beaches. And it comes as popular tourist areas have seen a surge in criminal activity. Mayor Gary van Niekerk has acknowledged the problem and outlined a series of interventions aimed at curbing the rising tide of crime. However, some local councillors believe that a dedicated beach policing unit is essential towards ensuring the safety of both residents and visitors alike. So let's bring in Ward 2 Councillor Sean Tappan for more on this one. Sean, good morning. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much. You know, your concerns about safety on the beaches in the area have sadly been validated again. There was another attack on a visitor who was stabbed and robbed of his cell phone while walking on what's popularly known as the Golden Mile this weekend. Tell us a little bit more about how often attacks are taking place.
Well, firstly, good morning to yourself. Thank you for the invite, and good morning to your viewers. Tourism from our side is extremely important to the Eastern Cape because it's one of the largest income generators for our economy. We have different types of crime that take place on our beachfront area. And, those vary from card scammers all the way through to physical attacks on people. Unfortunately, the tourists that walk in some of the isolated areas where there's very poor light and insufficient security on the ground fall victim and prey to criminals who then attack them and, take their belongings.
Well, if there's time, we'll come back to that because it seems as if they've cornered the market on different crime trends. Just in every conceivable way, a tourist or a visitor can be vulnerable. But there does seem to be a disturbing pattern emerging, Sean, where you say criminals are arrested, then they are released, only to come back to the same places and attack people again. Tell us more about that.
Yes, there's different parts of crime prevention, and even though some of the criminals are being arrested, we're finding it extremely difficult through the prosecuting authorities to make these cases stick. And that is something that we're going to have to look at drastically. Otherwise, crime is just going to be a perpetual circle. In terms of, we have the lower end type of criminals that are just opportunists, and then we have syndicates that are professional criminals that prey on tourists in terms of scamming them at the local petrol station or at the mall when they're drawing money. And those are two different types of crimes, but we definitely have to have feet on the ground as well as a sound prosecuting body, to keep these guys behind bars.
Yeah. All of this, Sean, has an impact on tourism numbers, and it is one of the largest contributors to tourism and the metro's economy, employing a large number of people as well. The Daily Maverick reporting that the number of visitors fell from 421,000 before the pandemic to 228,000 this year. Revenues dropped by almost 50% to 4.9 billion rand, largely driven, the report goes, by cancellation. Are people being deterred by crime, or are there also other factors, Sean?
Well, look, I think, you're in the media industry, and when something is put on social media, it moves fast and furious, through the industry. And a lot of the overseas tour operators watch the media that comes out, watch the events and trends. And, when the Kubaga is indicated as one of the top crime spots in South Africa and in the world, that does impact on the booking agents, when they decide, where to place their clients and where their clients want to go on holiday. We have obviously one of the most beautiful coastlines all the way from St. Francis in the Eastern Cape right around to, the Addo Elephant Park. We have hunting as one of our large sectors. And, tourists, foreign tourists, they have declined. because of the impact of crime. And the onset of that, as you've mentioned, is that it affects the industry that employs thousands of people in the hotel trade and all the other services that go with that. So we just have to make sure from a municipality and from a government that we fulfill our constitutional right and protect guests and local residents against crime by having the right amount of deployment of personnel on the ground. And that's one of the problems at the moment.
Well, let's talk about that piece then. You've been lobbying for a dedicated beachfront safety unit. Tell us more about where those efforts lie.
Well, basically about 2 years ago, we launched the beachfront safety control room. And in there we had 40 Metro police officers that were on loan to us. They were called RTOs, Reserve Traffic Officers. And in that season, we had almost a zero crime impact. And it worked very effectively because you had boots on the ground, and that was supported by the police during the holiday season, traffic, and all the other role players. Unfortunately, what happened was that those RTOs wanted permanent employment, went on strike, and they were actually removed and went back into traffic where they came from. We wanted dedicated police tourism protection unit. That's a national component, not a component from a local police station, with its own funding, its own vehicles, and to have them stationed on the beachfront, very much like they have in Cape Town and they have in Durban. And we're asking the question, as the Eastern Cape and Koberga, why do we not have such a unit? We've been lobbying for it for a good 10 years, and it almost got there just pre-COVID. And then when COVID hit, unfortunately, all the plans fell flat. I've driven this issue through the business chamber and also at a number of presentations when the Minister of Police came to visit us, requesting this urgent unit be formed. And unfortunately, at this stage, it's just been discussions and no permanent commitment has taken place.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of work to be done. And I think part of the other issue is what's available in the space to promote safety and security insofar as CCTV cameras, having the lighting set up there. What does the future look like in terms of, one of the some of the obvious immediate interventions that the city can deploy? And these are not new. They've been in the pipeline for a while now.
Well, we've been very much involved with the camera system. The Neighbourhood Watch and then through the business chamber has invested over 500,000 Rand of private money to set up a camera system that is monitored by Citywide, a security company, on a full-time basis. And then the MBDA has embarked on about a 8.6 million Rand project to install further cameras throughout the Golden Mile and the inner city itself. In terms of the lighting, that's definitely something that we have to look at and ensure that all the dark areas are lit up. There are plans in place with regards to the holiday season coming up. That is a discussion between the South African Police, Metro Traffic, the private security companies, the Summerstrand Neighbourhood Watch, and the CPF, Community Policing Forum. And amongst all those role players, we will try and do our best with the resources that we've got to ensure that the tourists are protected. Further to that, we've also put out notices at all the hotels and B&Bs to be careful with regards to when you are at an ATM, not to accept any help from any stranger. And it's been put out in various different languages. And the hotel industry has also been made aware of training the frontline staff to guide their customers not to walk around late at night or to go in very secluded areas.
All right, Sean Tappan, thank you very much for your time this morning.